how to find that balance with being a mom, being the CEO of a company, being a wife, and just being yourself. What kind of advice would you have?
So my advice is you got to have a support system, right? Nobody can do any of this by themselves. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is the balance. To me is there's trade-offs. One day I'm going to be a really good wife, and the next day I'm going to be a really good mom, and the third day I'm going to be a really good CEO. I'm likely never going to be those three things all in the same day. And so being honest about that with your children, with your employees, with your spouse, with yourself, is absolutely needed, and it's huge, because when you can set the tone for that, then everybody knows what's going on. Like, my kids know, all right, she must be really rocking it at work today, but she definitely didn't make our lunch. Like, okay, but you're old enough to make your own lunch, so go make your lunch. And they don't like to hear that, but it is the truth, right? And so they may not like it, but they'll respect it more because they know that is the truth. Going back to the support system, I am very, very, very fortunate that I have a good set of family and friends that live nearby that are able to help me pick up the slack. My husband, as I often tell people, is the better parent, and so he is very hands-on and very structured with our children and just running the household, so that's a benefit. But even if you didn't have any of that, then you need to go create your own, support system. So if you live in a place where you don't have a lot of family, then you need to go make friends with people who are like-minded, who care, and whose intent and follow through will be beneficial to you and your family. And you need to either pay for that if that's something that you can afford, or do some kind of, in-kind exchange, like, hey, I'm gonna watch your kids today, you watch mine tomorrow, whatever it needs to be, so that you can get what you need done. I think a lot of the time people just don't like to ask for help because they've either been rejected so much, or they've been taught that it's not good to ask for help. And I've certainly been victim to this as well, and even just the like, oh, it'll just be easier if I do it myself. No, it won't, because then you're stuck doing it, and it may not be something you're good at, or it may be something you're good at but you don't like, and so you're just going to be in this nasty circle of never giving anybody a chance to do anything for you. And what does that really say about what you think about when people help other people? So find a support system and figure out what the balance is, and that can change from day to day, and just accepting it and being okay with it, and trying to be as transparent as you can with all of the people in your life, I think is what helps.
So do you have any advice for working moms right now out there, or who are starting their own business, who have a sense that they're feeling this guilt that they're not doing enough and not spending enough time with their kids? Do you have any advice for them?
Oh yeah, I live this, right? When I used to travel a lot, I would feel like my kids would get very upset, especially one of them. And I mean, it's probably only been like in the last 2 or 3 years where I don't feel guilty when I travel anymore, and I can just like be present in the moment and have a good time. I think realizing that you're deciding that things are more important to your kids, to your spouse, to your family and friends than they really are, instead of having a conversation with them like, hey, I've got to travel. This is part of, providing for you. What if you have these 3 activities coming up, what's the most important, instead of you deciding that you have to be at all 3 and then stressing yourself out to do that. I've got one kid that wants us to be at everything, including practices, and freaks out if you're not. We've got another kid who could really not care if you're at any of them. And so it's just, knowing their personalities, but also talking to them. Again, being honest and transparent, and giving them an equal say, and helping kind of build out your schedule. Even when they're little, they'll tell you. Like, it makes it easier for everybody. And then you're teaching them the tools, and you're modeling a behavior to them that they can then take in their lives and be transparent and open in whatever relationships they have with their friends, coworkers, bosses, whatever. they now know how to do that.
All right. Final question for working moms. I'm a working mom. I'm listening to you. I'm sitting at home right now. I feel that I don't have a degree. The only self-worth that I associate with is being a working mom. What do I need to do to start my own business, or can I start my business, or do I need to wait till my kids get older?
No, you definitely don't need to wait until your kids get older. I think once you've identified what you want to do as a working mom, you have plenty of hours when you get home after you put your kids, and yeah, you're going to be tired. So what? You're always going to be tired. Like, my oldest is 17, and I feel like I haven't had a good night's sleep since before I had him. So it just is what it is. Like, if you really want it, then you are going to have to make sacrifices. And so my opinion is having them, if they're young, you put them to work. If they're older, you put them to work. You involve them in it as much as they can, even if it's just them, drawing pictures while you're doing something so you have some quiet time, sticking to a routine, putting them to bed on time. That's something that Jason's been very clear with me when we were younger, is like they have to go to bed at a certain time so that we have time to ourselves and together, that they're not infringing on, because otherwise you go crazy. You're just working, taking care of everybody else, and then going to bed, rinse and repeat. So getting some time with them, and then getting them in bed so that you have enough time, waking up earlier than everybody else. If you're not a night person, you're a morning person, wake up earlier, get a couple of hours in before everybody. And if you do that, over a period of time, that equals up to a good chunk of time that you can to develop this company while you have your full-time job.